The evening settles quietly around Mavi and Ronnie, wrapped in the kind of silence that feels heavier than noise. The house is dim, lit only by warm lamps that soften the sharp edges of the day they've both endured. Mavi stands near the window at first, arms folded, her reflection faint in the glass. Ronnie watches her, noticing how guarded she looks, how much she's holding back. When he speaks, his voice is low and careful, as if one wrong word could shatter the fragile calm between them. Mavi turns slowly, meeting his eyes. There's a long history in that look, shared memories, unspoken disappointments, and a connection neither of them has ever fully escaped. Ronnie steps closer, not rushing, giving her space to pull away if she wants to. She doesn't. Instead, she lets her arms fall to her sides, a small but meaningful surrender. The tension between them shifts, changing from defensive to intimate, charged with emotion rather than conflict. He reaches out, brushing his fingers lightly against her hand. The touch is tentative, almost questioning, and Mavi responds by curling her fingers around his. It's a simple gesture, yet it carries the weight of everything they've been through. They stand like that for a moment, breathing in sync, until the distance between them feels unnecessary. Ronnie lifts his other hand to her face, his thumb tracing along her cheek as if memorizing the moment. Mavi closes her eyes briefly, leaning into his touch. When she opens them again, there's vulnerability there, mixed with resolve. She steps forward, resting her forehead against his, their breaths mingling. The world outside seems to disappear, leaving only the quiet intimacy of the room. Ronnie presses a gentle kiss to her forehead first, then lingers, giving her time to pull back. She doesn't. Instead, she tilts her head slightly, inviting him closer. Their kiss is slow and restrained, filled with emotion rather than urgency. It's less about desire and more about reassurance, about choosing each other despite fear and uncertainty. Mavi's hand finds its way to Ronnie's chest, feeling his heartbeat beneath her palm, steady and real. When they finally part, they remain close, foreheads touching, both aware that this moment won't solve everything but will change something important between them. In that quiet space, surrounded by half-truths and complicated lives, Mavi and Ronnie share a connection that feels honest, fragile, and deeply human, a reminder of what still binds them together when everything else seems to be falling apart. The night in episode 2 feels heavier, layered with consequences from what Mavi and Ronnie have already shared. The house is quieter than before, almost tense, as if the walls themselves are aware of the secrets being carried inside. Mavi sits on the edge of the bed, her posture controlled but her expression distant. Ronnie moves around the room slowly, unsure whether to approach her or give her space. The closeness they found earlier now feels fragile, threatened by doubt and unspoken fears. When Ronnie finally sits beside her, there's a noticeable pause. Neither of them speaks at first. Mavi stares at her hands, twisting her fingers together, while Ronnie watches her face, searching for a sign that she still wants him there. He breaks the silence softly, admitting that things are complicated, that nothing about their situation is simple anymore. His honesty disarms her. She exhales, a small breath she seems to have been holding in all evening, and turns toward him. Mavi tells him she's afraid, not just of what people would say, but of losing control of her carefully constructed life. Her voice trembles slightly, revealing how much effort it takes for her to remain composed. Ronnie listens without interrupting, his presence steady. He reaches out again, this time more confidently, resting his hand over hers. The contact feels grounding, as if reminding her she's not alone in this uncertainty. She looks up at him, eyes shining with emotion she can no longer hide. The distance between them closes naturally as she leans into his shoulder. Ronnie wraps an arm around her, protective but gentle, letting her decide how close she wants to be. After a moment, she shifts so they're facing each other, her knees brushing his. There's a quiet understanding in the way they look at one another, a shared acknowledgement that despite the risks, the connection is real. Their kiss this time is deeper, less cautious. It carries longing, frustration, and comfort all at once. Mavi's hand slides up to his neck, holding him there as if afraid he might disappear. Ronnie responds by pulling her closer, careful yet certain, as though he's finally accepted what he feels. The room seems warmer, the tension easing as they sink into the moment. When they break apart, they don't rush away. Instead, they stay close, foreheads touching, breathing unevenly. There's no promise of a perfect future, but there is reassurance in the present. In episode 2, their love scene feels more intense and emotional, not because it's louder or more dramatic, but because it's filled with truth. It's a moment where fear and desire collide, leaving both Mavi and Ronnie changed, even if they're not ready to admit it out loud. By episode 3, the connection between Mavi and Ronnie feels both inevitable and dangerous. The atmosphere is charged from the moment they're alone together again, as if neither of them can ignore what's already been set in motion. The setting is familiar now, but the mood has shifted. There's less hesitation and more awareness of the risk they're taking. Mavi appears calmer on the surface, yet her eyes betray the storm underneath. Ronnie senses it immediately, the way she avoids direct eye contact, the way she keeps moving as if stillness might force her to think too much. He stops her gently, calling her name, and she finally turns to face him. There's a quiet confrontation in that moment, not angry, but honest. Mavi admits that pretending nothing is happening is becoming harder than facing the truth. Ronnie listens, his expression serious, knowing that whatever they share now will only deepen the bond they can't easily escape. The honesty between them strips away the last layer of distance. He steps closer, his presence steady and reassuring. This time, Mavi doesn't wait for him to reach out first. She closes the space herself, resting her hand against his chest, feeling the familiar rhythm beneath. It's grounding, almost comforting, and she lets herself relax into the moment. Ronnie cups her face, his touch more confident now, shaped by everything they've already shared. Their kiss begins softly, but there's a clear shift, less uncertainty, more intent. The kiss lingers, unhurried, as if they're both aware that time feels limited. Mavi responds with a quiet intensity, her hand tightening slightly in his shirt, a silent admission of how deeply she's already involved. Ronnie holds her closer, careful not to overwhelm her, but unwilling to pull away. The emotion between them feels layered, desire mixed with fear, tenderness shadowed by consequences neither of them can fully ignore. When they finally part, Mavi rests her forehead against his shoulder, eyes closed. Ronnie's arm stays around her, protective and warm. There's no rush to speak. The silence feels earned, filled with understanding rather than avoidance. In that stillness, Mavi realizes she's crossed an emotional line, one she can't easily step back over. Ronnie seems to understand this too, his expression thoughtful, almost solemn. Episode 3 frames their love scene as a turning point. It's no longer just about stolen moments or unspoken longing. It's about choice. Even without grand declarations, the way they hold each other says enough. They know the cost may be high, but in that moment, what they share feels real, anchoring them in a world that's growing increasingly unstable around them. In episode 4, the dynamic between Mavi and Ronnie carries a quieter intensity, shaped by everything that has already happened. The space between them feels different now, not uncertain, but heavy with awareness. They're no longer pretending this is accidental. When they find themselves alone again, there's a brief pause, as if both are silently asking whether they should stop. Neither does. Mavi leans against the doorway, watching Ronnie as he speaks about ordinary things, his tone almost deliberately casual. She knows he's trying to ease the weight of the moment, and the effort softens her. She interrupts him gently, admitting that normal conversation feels impossible now. There's a tired honesty in her voice, the kind that comes from carrying secrets for too long. Ronnie nods, accepting it without judgment, and moves closer. This time, the closeness feels familiar rather than tentative. Mavi doesn't retreat. She lets him stand in front of her, close enough that she can feel his warmth. Their eyes meet, and the silence stretches, but it's no longer uncomfortable. It's intimate. Ronnie reaches out, resting his hands lightly on her arms, grounding her. She exhales, her shoulders relaxing as if she's finally allowing herself to feel instead of calculate. Their kiss comes naturally, unforced and slow. It's not rushed, but it's deeper than before, filled with a sense of inevitability. Mavi responds with a quiet intensity, her hand sliding to his shoulder, holding on as if the world outside might intrude at any moment. Ronnie keeps the kiss gentle, almost